Hi everyone, it's Rita here, and I'm here to introduce the May newsletter. Now, those of you that have been following along my newsletters know that my plans for 2020, like many of yours, were kind of upended. So what I'm doing each month with the newsletters from here on is try to give you some information that you can use and put to practical work. So we'll focus on those each month. So the first observation I would make is that with the advent of the COVID-19 crisis, we're all now in a world of very high assumptions that we have to make relative to knowledge that we have. It's going to be a while before we really know what the contours look like. And one of the few ways to convert assumptions to knowledge is by doing experiments, running tests, testing for checkpoints. In other words, gathering up information as quickly, cheaply, and reliably as we can. So this month's newsletter is all about how you do experiments in business. So I'll start off with some do's and don'ts. The first thing to think about as you're designing an experiment is it's really important to know what the hypothesis is that you're trying to test. Don't just go gathering willy-nilly a whole bunch of information and hope you'll be able to make sense of it later. What you want to be able to do is carefully spell out what it is you want to learn. The second thing is to avoid leading the witness. I see this a lot with startups and entrepreneurial things. They go to people and they say, would you buy this product? Would you buy this business? And of course, everybody wants to be polite. And they say, yes, of course I'd buy it. But actually what you need to hone in on is what is the behavior that you're trying to get them to engage in? What's the real problem that you're solving? And very often, directly asking them isn't really going to help you. And then finally, you really want to make sure that the places you're getting your data from make sense given the business hypothesis that you're trying to test. So a great historical example of how this got completely screwed up was how every television manufacturer throughout the 2010s convinced themselves that 3D television was going to be the next big thing. And of course, that ended up being a very disappointing segment. So we'll give you some ideas on design of an experiment. And then I'm going to walk you through 4 case studies which actually built businesses or built enterprises on the basis of some experiments. So the first kind of experiment is called a smoke test, and what you're basically doing is putting up something that isn't quite real yet, but which can get some feedback from the market about whether they're interested and whether they would be interested in pursuing the idea that you've got. And I'll use the example of buffer there. The next one is A/B testing, which we've heard a lot about, but it takes some skill to get it right. And there I'm going to rely on Peter Kuhlman and his firm Optimizely. But the story is really how they used A/B testing in the Obama campaign to raise probably $60 million more than they would have raised in the base case had they not done the A/B testing. Then we'll hear from Alberto Savoia, who's got a fantastic book called The Right It. And one of the tools he uses that I love is called the Skin in the Game Caliper. And we'll finish off with Netflix, who really tested parts of their business model before they finally hit on the whole full-fledged business model of Netflix as we know it today. And it began by seeing if you could send a CD through the postal service and have it arrive safely. So I'm hopeful you'll find it useful. As always, reach out to me with questions, comments, ideas, and I'll meet you at the newsletter. Thanks. Bye-bye.